Hey everybody, it's Jim here. I was recently reading your comments and some of your feedback on the first video that I made about this guitar, the Harley Benton ST Modern Plus. There were a lot of similar questions in that comment section of things that I didn't exactly go over in depth in that video that I figured I'd make a follow-up video on and try and provide as much information as I could with this specific guitar in my hands. One thing people were curious about that we're going to get to is the neck. Both the actual feel of the profile and the thickness at the 1st and the 12th fret, how it feels compared to something like the Fusion 3 or a Stratocaster that is very similar spec that also comes with a modern D compound radius neck. Next, I'm going to focus a little bit on the bridge because it is worth talking about. It's a bit different than something you would find on, again, a traditional Stratocaster style bridge. But we're going to start things off with some sound samples. A lot of people wanted to know if this guitar could do clean. Initially, when we did the demonstration, I used a Tone King Gremlin combo amp. That's a 5-watt amp that doesn't have a whole ton of headroom, and with the older vintage voiced single coil pickups, it's not really a problem. I can get really good clean tones out of it, but these are a little bit more aggressive, so I don't feel it was a really accurate representation of what these can sound like through a higher headroom amp. So we're going to play it through the Dr. Z Plus Studio combo. Anything that you hear is just the amp. So basically reverb or no reverb. Let's check it out. This guitar does a pretty good job with clean tones. You just need to match it up with an amp that has enough headroom to accommodate for the higher output pickups on it. I especially think that both the 4th position, which is the combination of the neck and the middle position, and the neck pickup by itself sound really good. So definitely positive vibes for me when it comes to those. Now we're going to talk about the neck. Many of you are curious how this neck compared to the Harley Benton Fusion 3 that I did take measurements of and had a really good feel for. At the 1st fret on the Fusion 3, it measured out at 0.83. This neck on Thoman's website advertises to come with approximately 0.80. However, when I measured it, it comes out to 0.86. So a little bit thicker than the Fusion 3 and definitely a little bit thicker than they advised in kind of their guidelines on their website. I don't think that this is a big deal though, because when it comes to neck actual thicknesses, it's going to vary from guitar to guitar, even within the same model. Up to the 12th fret, there is a big difference between this and the Fusion 3. The Fusion 3 is a lot deeper, measuring it at 0.95, whereas this one comes in at 0.89. So if you did want something a little bit more manageable and uniform up and down the neck, the taper's nowhere near as big on this guitar as it was on the Fusion 3, and it definitely is a little bit more comfortable and thinner as you're going up the neck, depending on what you prefer as a guitar player. The shape of it is not hugely different, honestly, and the one thing that I have to my advantage is I have a Fender that has a modern D shape and a modern compound radius to it that I can play back and forth and really get a feel for. This doesn't feel like a D from Fender. If anything, this feels more in line with what you might find on a Player Plus or a Player Strat. And I don't say that to be a mean thing. It's a very comfortable neck. It just does not have the same kind of shoulder and profile as the D from Fender. Not all that different from the Fusion 3. I think the biggest difference is the fact that the taper is so much bigger going up the neck on that guitar compared to this one. Either way, the fretwork really was good on this. The fret edges are super smooth on this, and it is a pretty comfortable neck. And the last thing I didn't go into as much detail as I probably should have in the first video was about this Babicz Bridge, because it is different than a traditional Stratocaster bridge, both in operation and in feel. It does feel really good, and it does remind me of the Fender Mustang's dynamic vibrato in terms of the tension of it. However, when you're actually down here, if you're somebody that palm mutes, this feels pretty alien. Now, it has to do with both the size of the saddles themselves and where they're positioned. It just feels different. It doesn't feel better. It doesn't feel worse. It just feels different. If you're somebody who's really used to a traditional Stratocaster style bridge, it's going to feel alien at first. There's no two ways about it, but it's something that you can get used to pretty easily. And honestly, I like this bridge, and I didn't mention this in the other video either, but I really appreciated the fact that this came with two trem arms. You could either do this kind of modern one with no tip on it, or you could do a traditional one that did have a plastic colored tip on it, and I thought that was a pretty cool touch and something that was also worth mentioning. Now, there was one other request that kept popping up in the comments section that I didn't even mention in the intro of this video either, and that was people wanted to see this guitar directly compared with a few other specific brands. They wanted to see it compared against Jet. People wanted to see it compared against Firefly, and some people wanted to see it even compared against Fender. I do all of this out of my own pocket, you guys. This would be financially a stupid decision, quite frankly, for me to just buy all of those guitars and make all the comparison videos. And honestly, it's a moot point to me because I don't have that much interest in doing that many of the same exact sort of guitars demonstrations. Maybe one day down the road, if we do end up with any of those brands and this thing is still around, we can revisit that, but I'm not going to go out of my way to buy those just for the sake of making a YouTube video with. I can do this though. I can if you really wanted to see it. I think it's a moot point because the price difference between the two is just gigantic. Compare it with the Corey Wong Stratocaster that also has a D-shaped neck, well, much more of a D-shaped neck in my opinion than this one does, and a compound radius. And if you want me to do it, you're going to need to let me know by hitting like on this video. If it hits 100 likes and you leave some comments saying, please, we would like to see it, we're interested, then I can make it happen for you. But again, I feel like it's not an apples to apples comparison. They're just worlds apart in terms of price, and it's kind of just weird to do. But if you really want me to do it, I will do it for you. Anything else, let me know in the comment section of this video, and that's it for today. Thank you for watching. I really do appreciate all of your support. If you're interested in buying one of these guitars, I know they're sold out, but you can reserve one, and you can help me out by reserving it using one of the affiliate links to Thoman down below. I appreciate each and every one of you who does do that. It doesn't cost you anything, and it does help make all of this possible, as stated earlier in the first video. Hope you have a wonderful rest of your day. Take it easy, everybody.